In the opening scene, a young scout boy is standing at a busy intersection in Bangkok. Amidst the hustle and bustle of the traffic, he notices an elderly woman struggling to carry her bags across the street. Seeing her difficulty, the boy rushes to her aid, trying to assist her in crossing the road safely. However, in the confusion of the moment, he drops his mobile phone on the street and leaves it behind while helping the woman to safety first. Just as he turns to retrieve his phone, the traffic lights change and a speeding bus hits him, leading to his untimely death. The next scene introduces the protagonist, Phuchit Punnathon, who is facing numerous challenges in his life. He is a salesman at Yamaha Company, where he is constantly belittled by his boss and colleagues alike. In addition, his girlfriend seems to have broken up with him in order to be a pop star, leaving him emotionally shattered. Despite his best efforts to make ends meet, Phuchit is struggling with his finances, living alone in a small apartment and burdened with mounting debts that he cannot seem to overcome. The constant pressures of his life are taking a toll on him, and he is growing increasingly desperate to find a way out of his predicament. On a certain day, Phuchit heads out to a school to sell his product to a potential client. However, he is crestfallen to discover that his colleague has already made the sale there. The very next day, Phuchit leaves his home to go to work, but to his dismay, he finds that his car has been repossessed by the creditor due to his failure to pay off his debts. Phuchit's day at work takes a turn for the worse when he is called to his boss's office and told to resign due to his poor sales performance. Returning to his desk, he is further disheartened to find a pile of overdue bills from credit companies, adding to his already mounting financial troubles. Feeling depressed, Phuchit goes to the staircase to gather his thoughts and have a cigarette. But his frustration only intensifies when he realizes he has run out of them. To make matters worse, his mother calls and asks him to send money to pay for his younger sister's schooling. Despite his precarious financial situation, Phuchit agrees to send the money. Just then, his phone rings again and he answers, only to hear a stranger on the other end offering him a chance to win 10,000 baht. Initially, Phuchit suspects that it is a prank call from his colleagues or friends, but the caller proceeds to reveal personal details about him such as his full name, age, and employment status, which leave him wondering. The caller then tells Phuchit that he simply needs to swat a fly that is buzzing around him right now. If he completes the task, he will win a cash prize worth 10,000 baht. Phuchit is skeptical, but after some convincing from the anonymous caller, he decides to give it a try. He rolls a newspaper and easily swats the fly. The next second, surprisingly, he receives a message confirming that 10,000 baht has been transferred to his bank account. As Phuchit gasps in excitement, the caller offers him the chance to win 50,000 baht if he eats the dead fly. Uncertain and hesitant, Phuchit returns to his desk with the dead fly in his hand, contemplating whether to go through with it or not. However, after a while of deliberation, he pops it into his mouth. One of his co-workers, Ton, notices this, but she is so bewildered that she doesn't speak a word. After some time, Phuchit receives yet another phone call and the caller informs him that he has the chance to win an enormous sum of money, 100 million baht, if he completes a total of 11 more tasks. Despite feeling uneasy about the mysterious caller and the dubious nature of the game, Phuchit is desperate for cash, so he agrees to the terms and conditions. The caller warns him that if he quits or if anyone discovers that he's playing the game, he'll have to forfeit all his winnings immediately. For the third task, Phuchit is assigned to go to a kindergarten and make at least 3 children cry. Although hesitant at first, he recalls his own traumatic childhood experiences with his father crushing his toys, so he steals toys from the children and makes them cry. The fourth task involves stealing money from a beggar, a reprehensible act that Phuchit reluctantly carries out. Things take a hard turn with the fifth task. Phuchit is ordered to visit a high-end Chinese restaurant where he is presented with a plate containing feces and instructed to eat it. Although he feels disgusted and protests, the caller insists that he complete the task or risk forfeiting his prize. Flashbacks of being bullied into eating dog feces as a child further add to his distress, but ultimately, Phuchit forces himself to finish the plate. Even this time, Ton catches him in the act. She starts assuming that he has gone mental. As the twisted game progresses, the challenges become increasingly degrading, unlawful, and deadly. Prior to embarking on his sixth task, Phuchit is instructed to hand his phone over to a deranged individual at a bus stop. Through him, Phuchit learns that his next challenge is to fight a group of teenage hooligans on a moving public bus in order to acquire another cell phone. Initially, Phuchit attempts to negotiate with the delinquents for the phone, but when they start to bully him, he ends up getting into a physical altercation. with them. During the brawl, Fudget and one of the hooligans fall out of the bus, sustaining injuries. However, the fight is not yet over as the teenage thug pulls out a knife and advances toward him. Just as he is about to attack, Fudget grabs a large piece of meat and strikes the assailant's head, rendering him unconscious and fulfilling his sixth task. The next challenge is even more harrowing. Fudget is instructed to break into a house and retrieve the corpse of a deceased individual. The problem is that it lies at the bottom of a well. Not only that, Fudget also has to notify the deceased's family members. And the total time for the entire task is just 10 minutes. It is a momentous and scary challenge. But since Fudget has come this far, there is no looking back. As he descends into the well, he notices a swarm of cockroaches in his arm that startles him and causes him to fall into the water. After taking some time to gather his composure, Fudget ties the rotting corpse to himself and begins to climb out of the well. Despite the limited time frame, he manages to get out and call the family members right before the deadline expires. Shortly thereafter, Fudget is given another task, one that involves physically assaulting his ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend. Surprisingly, Fudget is quick to accept this one, and without hesitation, he picks up a nearby chair and unleashes a brutal beating on the man until he is knocked unconscious. However, Fudget is soon overcome with guilt for his violent actions, so he quickly rushes the injured man to the hospital. As Fudget continues to progress through the increasingly challenging and morally questionable tasks, the police begin to take notice of his criminal behavior. Led by Officer Surakai, a team of cops start to track Fudget down, suspecting that his crime spree is part of a larger and more sinister scheme. Meanwhile, Tom becomes increasingly concerned about Fudget's odd behavior. Piecing together clues she overheard at a police station, she uses her computer expertise to hack into a website called 13. There, she finally comes across the live stream of Fudget's horror show. Every move he makes, everywhere he goes, is being recorded. However, Tom has no idea that she is also being closely monitored and that she has unwittingly become a part of the very game she is investigating. In the next scene, Fudget, who is now a wanted criminal, finds himself in the hospital. There, he sees news that the police are after him. His phone suddenly rings and the same mysterious caller warns him to avoid the police, as his capture would mean the end of the game and the prize money would be lost. Despite the potential danger, Fudget continues with his next task, the eighth one, which requires him to help a patient escape from room number 803 of the hospital. Hiding from the authorities, Fudget reaches the specified room. Surprisingly, the patient he is supposed to help is the same elderly woman from the first scene. With some quick thinking, Fudget disguises himself as a ward boy and manages to load the old woman into a wheelchair and escape the hospital right before Surakai and his team arrive. In the meantime, a higher-ranking police official orders Surakai to call off the pursuit of the wanted criminal. After leaving the hospital, Fudget brings the elderly woman to her modest hut by the side of the main road. He then helps her dry her clothes by tying a silicone wire. However, unbeknownst to him, the other end of the wire is fastened across the main road and is invisible in the darkness. Soon after, a group of teenagers on motorbikes was by, completely unaware of the wire, resulting in a horrific accident that causes one of the riders to lose their life. This tragedy leaves Fudget devastated, and he lashes out at the mysterious caller on the phone who has been guiding him through these heinous tasks. As he is coming to terms with the grave consequences of his actions, Tom arrives on the scene and gets shocked to witness the aftermath of the accident. She implores Fudget to turn himself into the police, assuring him that they would understand the circumstances behind his actions. Tom also reveals that she knows about the game he has been playing. Just as they are speaking, the phone rings, and the caller informs Fudget that the game is over as someone else has discovered it. However, he gives Fudget one final chance and assigns him another task, to kill Tom's dog. It turns out the little pup has been kidnapped and brought to the elderly woman's house already. When Tom sees him, she's taken aback. She begs Fudget to spare her dog, however. The latter has become so obsessed with the game, he brings out a sharp weapon and mercilessly slays the innocent dog. Fudget then warns Tom to stay away from him before speeding away in his car. After the incident, Tom, who is determined to uncover the mastermind behind all this, decides to head to the police station to report her suspicions. However, she has no solid evidence to prove her claims because the website, which she hacked previously, is now completely blank. Disheartened, she leaves the station, feeling helpless and lost. As she walks out, she stumbles upon a group of villagers who are arguing among themselves. Tom approaches them to check on the matter and learns that someone has shockingly slice their cow with a samurai sword. This sends shivers down her spine as she realizes that it's none other than Fudget. Tong follows the trail of blood he has left and reaches a strange room with the number 13 on it. However, as she is about to enter it, a man captures her from behind. Tong is then taken to the place where the reality game is being run from. As she enters the premises, she is confronted by the mastermind behind the game, a young boy named T. He's revealed to be the same scout boy that we saw at the start of the movie. Surprisingly, he never died. The old woman somehow saved his life. Tong tries to reason with him and asks him to put an end to the game, claiming that it has already taken the lives of many innocent people. However, T reveals that he is powerless to do so because he's just a component of it. And the underground reality game involves players and viewers that perhaps number in the thousands. Elsewhere, as Fudget reaches the final destination of the game, he is taken aback by the revelation that the game is a social experiment and all his actions were being monitored and recorded the entire time. He is then confronted with the daunting task of stabbing his own abusive father, John Adams, who is strapped to a wheelchair and appears to be unconscious. This final task promises a prize money of 100 million baht, and Fudget is torn between the temptation of winning the prize and his conscience. He starts having flashbacks of the time his dad did good things for him, like chasing away the bullies and bringing him new toys. Ultimately, Fudget decides to give up the game, as he remembers his mother's wish that he should never become a bad person like his father. But just as he is about to leave, Adams wakes up and stabs his son to death. With this, T from the control room announces that Adams is the winner of 100 million baht. It turns out he was also playing his own game, and the final task was to kill his son. While Fudget hesitated to complete the task, Adams didn't. Tong is devastated to witness the cruel turn of events, and she screams at T. However, the young mastermind remains unperturbed. He instead reveals that thousands of people, just like Fudget and Adams, are playing the game currently. Moreover, millions of viewers are watching and betting on the games worldwide, and that is where all the money comes from. Saying this, he calls his security and escorts Tong away from there. In the final scene, we see her waking up on a bus bench, disoriented and confused. Tong is found by Surakai, who is still investigating the deaths related to the game. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel. Thank you for watching.